Good morning, everybody. I'm Dana Sardano, and this is Stephi Starr.
Hola.
And we are on the Love Seat. For those of you who are seeing this for the first time, we are in Ubuntu Fish Gallery in downtown Stewart. This is my gallery. It's an artist gallery, an intuitive lounge. We do a lot of cool things here. Do workshops and spiritual readings and just really cool fun
Badass stuff.
Badass stuff. But we're here today. I'm trying to be subdued because Steffi walked in the gallery this morning, had to peel me off the ceiling because so many exciting things are happening for me and in my life and with my friends right now that I'm just like, I want to shout it from the rooftop. So this is me being mature adult.
Thank
How am I
you,
doing?
sister. You're doing an amazing
Thank you very much.
job.
Thank you very much. But I'm going to introduce Miss Stephi Starr and allow her to tell you what she does and see what she's got to say. And then at some point I'm going off. So brace yourselves.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Love Seat. I am Stephi Starr. I am a altered states facilitator. Don't spit your coffee out.
I got used to it.
Good. I assist people in navigating the terrain of their sub and superconscious minds through the use of molecules, plants, and elements from nature. So we used to call it spirit plant facilitator, but it's kind of gone beyond that because it starts with breath work. Oxygen is the original spirit molecule. I've come to understand we all have it. It's free to each and every one of us. And it's profoundly, profoundly transformative for people physically, spiritually, mentally. Our breath is like the greatest gift. But we also use other molecules from nature to access these altered states. So honored to do that work. And in light of that work, in light of doing that work, I am fortunate enough, honored, and so grateful to sit in a position where people come and reveal themselves, where they're at, their darknesses, their light, but all towards the end of evolving, of becoming what they are, what's next. So today, I just wanted to come and talk about a very profound realization I had this week. And we've talked about awareness and willingness before, right? Because for me, every day, that's the job, that's the work. And I don't know that I've ever really clearly stated this, but it just revealed itself as so simple to me. And again, this work of becoming, this path of evolving from our what into our who, from the 3D into the 5D, from unrighteousness into righteousness, whatever your vernacular is, it's all the same journey. We come here as dual entities. We have male and female, high and low, light and dark, right and left. But at the end of the day, all of that sprung forth from an original singularity. And some people call that God. Some people don't want to call it anything. And I personally, I have a word for it, but it's so much more than the word. I call that singularity source. And it is the void. It's the emptiness. It's the darkness from whence all of this form and construct pops into being in an effort to experience itself. So then it has to fold back in. The duality has to return to a form of singularity. And I know that sounds like a long way to go around, but that sets up what I wanted to talk about today. Had a very profound experience with a woman who I am friends with. She came into my life in a really interesting way, and I've watched her progression. She knew immediately when she met me that I belonged in her life, that I had something to share with her. She continually sought me out, even through and around some really bad behavior on my part. So I'm going to cop to something that I needed to learn from her. She came into my life to show me undiscriminating virtue, which is
that's beautiful.
The tenet of my Taoist connection. I'm really connected to Lao Tzu, the Tao Te Ching, the Wahoo Jing. And undiscriminating virtue is the primal identity from whence our becoming is a reality. So I met this woman. She was a nurse like me. She was smart. She was sharp. She was cute. She had everything going for her. You look at her life, you look at her, and you think, oh, I want that. And yet on the inside, HFM, hot fucking mess. Like the rest of us, like most of us, right? We're all a hot fucking mess until we're not. So, yeah, the HFM. She kept coming around and I kept scratching my head thinking, well, I gave you the answer. I showed you the way. You've done spirit plant ceremony How are you not picking this up? And at a certain point, I realized that I had overstepped my boundaries. I had allowed the behavior of another person to put me off of my path, to kind of hijack me. Why am I getting angry at this person? What is it in me that I need to re-examine?
I'm thinking about all the places that shows up in my life. I'm like, oh God.
Well, it's funny because she was right at the birth of the way home, this space that I operate on behalf of the universe. She was right there at the beginning of the way home. And for me, it was such a profound lesson in who do you think's coming here? Who do you think's going to knock on your door? You think a bunch of well people are going to show up? You're going to be dealing with this as much as you're going to deal with, or more than you're going to deal with, well people, or people who have done their work and gone very far down the road to becoming, and ultimately are just coming to like get final bits and pieces to put it all together and to really put to bed these lower level darknesses that you just can't get to with your rational thinking mind. So interestingly, I got a phone call from her this week because this person who I literally had to eject from our community, from certain aspects of our community for a little while, she was never ejected from the community. She was always held in love. People were concerned for her. I was concerned for her. But there were certain aspects of what we do that she just could no longer participate in based on her behavior. And her behavior was the thing that sent me over an edge. And you could look at that and go, well, you have every right. I mean, she was endangering the process. You know, of course you have a right to get mad. And listen, we all have a right to do whatever we want to do on any given day and in any given moment. But again, it comes back to the question of, does this serve me? And I had to look at myself and I had to really examine, are you here to help people that need help? Or are you here to like fix and be the guy at the end of the day who got it done? And we all know the answer to that rhetorical question. You know, I had to dig deep and I had to really figure out what it was in me that felt compelled to like be angry that somebody wasn't getting it. So I get a phone call this week because we're starting Oneness Recovery this week at The Way Home. It's a concerted, connected effort for people who struggle with behavior or substance issues that they've become dependent upon. But instead of dividing everybody up into groups based on
the drugs, the gambling,
the substance,
sex,
or the behavior, right? It's let's come together, because at the end of the day, this is all about self-harm as it relates to our self-love. So the mechanism is self-love. When it's out of alignment, when it doesn't work, then we self-harm. And let's just like get rid of all the fluff and clutter and let's bring it down to those simple nuts and bolts things. This woman is helping me start this. This was her brainchild. This is a year after our really getting into some deep work where I kind of had to turn her away from certain aspects of the work that I do and share with people. And she called me and she's like, I get it. I get it now. It is about the work. I wasn't willing to do the work, and now I'm doing the work. And it's interesting because what is the work? Like, that's a hard thing to figure out when you're knee deep, belly deep in all your bullshit. What is the work? And at the end of the day, I always come back to awareness and willingness. This woman was aware of her behaviors. I was aware of my behaviors. And then I was willing to do what it took to have those behaviors serve me as opposed to not serve me. And here's the key. It's not just about awareness and willingness. The other element to this is time.
I'm like, I am so excited.
It takes time. And this morning it came to me, I'm in the shower and I'm like, how do I like fashion this idea of what it takes? And it's like making a cake. You have all the ingredients. They're in the pantry, they're in the refrigerator, they're all over the house, but the ingredients are there. And then one day you decide, I'm going to make a cake, and I have everything here. And you pull it out and you put it together and it's all sitting there on the counter and you're like, I got everything I need to make the cake. And you put it in the bowl and you put it in the pan and you put it in an oven And then there's a certain amount of time. No matter how much you want to eat that cake, no matter how excited you are to see that cake, no matter how much that cake means to you, that it turned out right and it tastes good, it doesn't matter. There's a certain amount of time. And until it's time, it's not ready. Even though you did everything right, you had all the correct ingredients, time is the factor. And time is the thing that a lot of us want to press the fast forward button on. We want it now. Well, I realize I have this problem. So, and I've set about fixing it, and I want the change to occur now. Ooh, that's not up to us. That really is not up to us. If you have brought your awareness and you've shown up with the willingness to do the work, which is simply not doing the thing that you always do, not doing the thing that is going to push a button for a minute and make you feel better, but in the end, you're going to have to climb back, climb out from under, and put the pedal to the metal again and start all over. We all know what the work is when we're in it. The work does not reveal itself like as this large plan. Okay, here's A to B to C to D, and then you arrive at E. No, the work is as we live. Oh, I got this letter today for this guy that I really love. And he's in rehab right now. And I know I made a mistake by inviting him to my house, but maybe I should call his sister and talk to her about how to get this bill to him because he has great credit. No, return to sender. That's the work. Return to sender is the work. Yeah, you can jump off a cliff. You can go on a tear, go on a bender with all of these machinations around, but I have to get him this bill. But it's a sign from the universe. No, the sign from the universe is return to sender. He no longer lives here. That's the work for you. So to know that, to make the call, to say to somebody, I got this bill.
The difficult decisions.
What do I do? Because what I want to do is blah, blah, blah. Return to sender is the work. It's hard until it's not. And it only shows up in that moment. You can't plan for it. You can't plan for the work. This is the beauty of timing. The universe gives you what you need in the appropriate time when you're ready to see yourself be willing to do the work or not. And not being willing to do the work is okay too. It's part of the work. It's part of the timing. We have to watch ourselves trip over our dick, fall into the hole, and climb back out so many times before we really, really, really confront. I'm tired of living this way. I'm tired of having this experience over and over and over again. I want to be different. I think I'm different, but the same stuff keeps showing up. I'm not different. Because it's never about the other person. It's never about the scenario. It's always about, am I aware, am I willing, and is it time? So that's what I wanted to say. I know you're chomping at the bit. I want to let you.
No, it's funny because I'm vacillating between just, shut the fuck up.
You can't shut the fuck up.
I can't. So the vacillation is over. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There are so many things that I could say, that I want to say in response to what you said, and I really want to rein it in. So the first thing is, this whole thing about timing. What keeps coming up for me is the space between. So here's what happens. We are in a circumstance that is uncomfortable for us, right? And sometimes we like to point the finger outward. I'm mad at you because no. The reality is I'm uncomfortable in the situation because of a decision I made or didn't make. But we ignore it, and then it shows up bigger, and it shows up more aggressively, or whatever it is. But we're in this space of discomfort. But we know what we have to do.
Yeah.
And I'll do something else, and I'll do this, and we know what we have to do because it's unpleasant. But the fear of what we need to do is what we think is more unpleasant. And 100% of the time for me, the just jumping and doing what I know I have to do is nothing compared to the unpleasantness in the situation. So that is a big deal. And I didn't give you a specific example. I'll probably get to that in a second. The second thing about timing is, as I've mentioned, those of you who know me know that this is Intuitive Lounge. And as I've mentioned, this is an intuitive lounge. So I know a lot of people who do magical things. I have made a decision recently that I'm going to step out of the shadows and stop hiding behind my friend's intuition. And I'm intuitive as well. I said it, okay? I am officially doing readings in the gallery now myself. I said it.
I love you so much. I love you so much. We've been waiting for
Oh
you,
my
sister.
God, we're gonna.
We've been waiting for you, sister.
All right,
girl.
so I'm out of the closet, right? So here's the thing. Here's what I've learned about readings. So there's a lot of skeptics. Oh, how do we know that they're doing this, and how do we know they're doing that? Here's what I understand. Everybody reads energy. Everybody reads the information we're receiving differently. Most of us receive the information with our five senses, right? I hear something, oh, it's music playing. I see something, oh, that's art on the wall, right? I feel something, oh, it's raining. Some of us have a sixth sense. They made a movie about it, right? And like Steffi, numbers speak to Steffi. And we just had this conversation before we turned on the video. That she sees, understands a lot of the information numerically. I know people that symbols speak to them, right? For me, it's always come in a knowing and a reading, and I say reading of energy. It's just a feeling and understanding, like I can feel it and I know it, and I can't really put it into words. Like I don't like see a picture necessarily, although that does happen sometime. Or hear anything, but although I do get like strong thought forms that are clearly not mine. But there's this understanding of the energy. Well, one of the things that I do know also about readings, and you'll see where I'm going with this in a second, is when people go to readers, they obviously are looking for some sort of guidance, or they were looking for some sort of information. And I have been guilty of this. They want to know when. Right? So, you know, I'm going to buy a house. Well, when is that going to happen? Is that going to happen in 4 months? And then you have the real, well, time is just a construct of the human. We live in time and space. Listen, I'm not going to play that philosophical game, right? We live in time and space. But for things to happen, it's not about a time period. It's not about in 4 months this is going to happen. It's about based on the energy, based on your trajectory, based on your momentum, maybe 3 months, maybe 4 months, based on what you're doing. So if I say, when is a wealthy investor going to see that I have all of these purses and they're really a magical thing and give me a bunch of money to manufacture them and sell them? By the way, I'm just putting that out there if you know. When is that going to happen? Is that going to happen today? Is that going to happen tomorrow? It's not, my momentum says we're moving in that direction, but if I decide to put a needle in my arm tomorrow and spend the rest of my existence in a gutter, I've just shifted the trajectory. So when you go see a reader, or speak to a psychic, however you do it, right? You know, the turban, the crystal ball, whatever it is, right? If you do that, it really is about what they're reading is really about the trajectory of the momentum of your energy and where that's going. So the question for me has always been, but when, right? But when? And here's what I've learned recently, and this is all about the timing. So I have really been living my life has always been great, but there's been a lot of trauma and, you know, obstacles. But the last few years have been fucking full magic. Because the more I learn and understand how energy works and how to get what I want and, you know, manifest and all those, you know, keywords, I have this magical existence. So recently, and I don't know if I even said this out loud, you totally inspired me. This summer, Steffi was here. It was like July. It was right before I went to Georgia. And was talking about how she's going to conquer. Do you mind if I talk about this?
Oh, no, please. Yeah.
How she's going to conquer and overcome her food addiction, right? Her turning to food for solace in this compulsion and all of these things. And again, I could talk about self-loathing and self-love, but basically turning to food for solace. And I knew in her talking about it a couple of times that she had been here, I understood the only real big thing that I have left that I have not overcome. And again, there's always little things to sweep out of the attic and sweep out of the basement. Yeah. But the big thing is my body image and my having learned over the years that your self-worth and your appearance or your body image, they were somehow became enmeshed. Just for not to be, I don't want to, just for interest's sake or disinterest's sake, I'm not going to go through the whole, how I got there and the pieces. If you're interested, feel free to contact me. I mean, I'm an open book, but I'm not going to bore you guys with this. But I understood that those two things became enmeshed. So Steffi left one day. She was in the parking lot. She's all, I'm not going to eat this, and I'm going to Whole Foods and feel good, and, and I'm a new person. And I hugged her in the parking lot, and I said, half joking, I'm so excited for you, but I'm a little jealous. And she left. And that discomfort that I sat in, knowing what I had to do, but not yet being ready to do it, right? And that's what I was talking about before. I sat in this discomfort. Dana, you know you have to conquer this. You know it's your last big thing. You know it's going to be a bitch. You know what this is really about, changing your eating habits, changing the way you look at yourself, diving deep, seeing where it came from, all of these things. You know you have to do this. But I don't want to do this. You know you have to do this. So I didn't think I was going to commit to it in that moment. Went to Georgia, couldn't get any fatter.
Vacation.
Was on vacation. Just, I'm going to eat some of that. I'm going to eat some of that, right? And then I came back and I made a decision. Okay, now is the time. I didn't realize that I would do it so quickly, but I made the decision now was the time. And in that time, so now we're talking about late July. So we got August, September. I'll call it 2 months. And another thing that's amazing is when you decide, and it was written in The Alchemist, when you follow your soul's purpose, the universe aligns to give you what you need, you know what I mean? I say unicorns fall out of the sky, but when I made this decision, this is what I'm going to do. The opportunities to fix these things that are broken, when I was willing to look at them, they just appeared. They just appeared. This just appeared. And really, a lot of it landed in the root and sacral chakra for me. And if you watch the last video, I went off on chakras. We went off on.
We love the chakras.
Yeah, but it's really our energy centers and our responsibility for keeping them healthy. And what does it look like when they're unhealthy? And how do we make them more healthy? And and I'm sure this is going to continue to come up because it's really crucial that we understand this about ourselves and about how to. So anyway, these opportunities have been presenting themselves, right? And I have been one by one. Okay, I'll do that. Oh, look what happened. Okay, I'll do that. Oh, look what happened. I always refer to this, it's so stupid, but there's a Family Guy episode where James Wood, the cartoon, he's following a trail of candy. Oh, piece of candy. Oh, piece of candy. And it's so dumb, but that's kind of how I look at my life. And you just follow it. So with that said, this week, last couple of days, every day I've woken up and I'm like, oh my God, I've conquered this. Oh my God, look what's happening. My clarity has increased and just my understanding of myself and the world around me. My excitement and passion about the next step. My creativity has sparked, like all of these things because I made a commitment to addressing something that I had been ignoring for 49 years. Just to be fair. Let's just say 40 years because my body image didn't start, somewhere around 9, 10, 11.
Yeah.
The reason I'm sharing this is because Steffi mentioned timing. You have to be ready. How come it took me 40 years?
Because that's what it takes.
Because that's what it takes sometimes. And this morning, I get up, I do my thing, feed the kids, whatever, and I meditate. And one of the things that came to me this morning was compassion. I should have more compassion for myself and for the people around me because there are things in self-understanding that I'm quite advanced in. And I catch myself being annoyed by people who aren't, which is not fair because there are things that I need to work on that people are like, what, how come you don't get this? You don't get this? Right. I'm in Arabic 4. You don't speak Arabic yet? Right. What's your problem? Right. I'm like, I don't speak Arabic. I don't. Yeah. And it's not fair. And so there's so many things. There's so many points that I think I'm making right now. I'm just like, But to recap, one is it really is time and you have to be ready. You have to be ready. And if you're not, and you do that thing that you knew you shouldn't have done, and then you're like, oh, no, next time you may be ready. So that's the first one. Second one is it's never as scary. The thing you need to do is never as scary and uncomfortable as the discomfort you're sitting in not doing it.
Right.
And the third thing, I don't remember, but it was probably profound because
you have resolved your body image issue. That's huge. And I sit next to you saying that, realizing we did our paths kind of converged
so
at
we
a
could
point
do this likely,
so that
right?
we could do this in each other's shadow, because I can tell you that I spent last evening in my tiny little apartment that I absolutely love, my tiny little space I live in, minimalist lifestyle, and it no longer overwhelms me, this singularness of my path, this singularness of my life. I used to eat at night. It was my company. Like at a certain point, And again,
That's why I stopped smoking pot.
don't
when
get
I was
it
single,
twisted.
because
I
was
mean,
like,
yeah, I was for years every day I overate, and I got, it took layers of this behavior to be examined and removed. So I'm not saying I was binging. I mean, we did 6 cupcakes in February.
my all-time
6
favorite.
cupcake, like that I hadn't had a 6 cupcake moment in well over a year. But that it showed up again meant there was still work that hadn't been done. So, all right, 6 cupcakes happened. Let's dig
Please
in.
go back and find it,
Let's-
because you will have witnessed me on camera pee my pants. I was like, you ate how many what?
It was bad. It was bad. I watched that video again recently, and I'm like, God.
You were probably like, who the fuck is that?
I remember her. Yeah, I remember her, and I'm not her anymore. I sat last night in my little space with this fullness of purpose and joy, knowing that I am enough because I am. That there is no behavior in which I need to engage in order to remove me from my simply being, myself, being, my whatness, being, simply being. It's the whole point of being here is to be. And I'm comfortable doing that now. I don't need food. I don't even need television. I don't need out. I haven't drank in months and months and months. I mean, not that that was ever problematic, but little by little, this work I've done, this relationship I've built with breath work and spirit molecules, and like, it's really having this effect, but it's taken time. You know, people come to me and they have an experience and they want their whole life to change in a day. You're the medicine. This is a tool. I give you a tool, and then the medicine needs time to work. You don't take the antibiotic the day you show up at the doctor because you have a seeping wound in your leg, and the wound closes up the next day. Like, the medicine takes time to work. But the medicine is not outside of you. We're the medicine, and we have all these tools available.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Go,
cut you
no.
off. But there was, it's funny what just happened, because there's something that I wanted to share that I'm like, it's not really, it's relevant, but there's really no natural segue, and then you just said that, and there was my natural segue. So I was like, oh, I'm going to take it.
Segue.
So one of the things that keeps showing up for me that I wanted to share, because there is a misconception, I'm sure most people who are watching this are familiar with like the law of attraction and like The Secret, and this idea that, you know, we could create our own reality and manifest what we want, right? And there's actually an Always Sunny in Philadelphia where they make fun of the vision boards. I put all this stuff on the vision board. I didn't get any of my stuff. Where's my stuff, right? So there's a little bit of that sometimes I perceive in people who don't truly understand it. And I want to clarify some things, because I thought I got it, and then you get it, and then you think you get it, and then you get it, and then you get hit with a 2x4, and you're like, oh, I got it, but then you didn't get it. Right. Whatever, I could do this all day. But you understand what I'm saying. So I just want to talk about The Secret for a second, or the law of attraction. So people say, if I want to be wealthy, I'm just going to use it as an example. If I want to be wealthy, I have to perceive my wealth, right? I have to feel like I'm wealthy. So I got to be living in my 2x2 foot apartment, you know, all going, oh, I'm in the Taj Mahal, right? Because if I believe that I'm in the Taj Mahal, I'm going to receive that wealth. And then it doesn't happen. And they're like, what the fuck, right? I just want to clarify a couple things. One thing is, you don't have to be like, I'm in the Taj Mahal. You have to ask yourself, what does that wealth mean for me? What does it mean to be wealthy? Well, being wealthy means that I'm surrounded by nice things, or things that make me feel good, right? I get what I want, or I have the freedom to get what I want when I want it. I am relieved of the fear and anxiety of not having enough, because I always know I'll be provided for. Being wealthy, we think, oh, money and cash and stuff and
mansions
cars,
and yachts.
But being wealthy is what people want, or, you know, to have money to be rich. But they really want the freedom to be without fear and discomfort, and to have things that make them feel good around them, have opportunities to do things that they want to do. That's really what it is. So then when you really understand what you want and what that means, why you want that, then now you can, I don't want to use the word manufacture, but you can mimic or you could have those feelings and other things. So what can I do to make me feel free? And what can I do to make me feel like I'm not lacking anything? And what are these things?
Right.
And it could be super, super simple. Like I could,
It can happen in your 2x2
it can happen in
apartment.
a 2x2 apartment.
You can do all that right there.
Yeah, so that's really something that has really just kind of been right in my face that makes so much sense. So I always walk around, like I said for years, walk into a room like you own it and you'll own it.
Yeah.
And I never
sure.
really truly understood the magnitude of that, of like really just like, you know, my husband, St. Rob, gets mad at me sometimes because when there are things that seem impossible, obstacles, like whether it be a real estate deal or whatever it is, I'm like, don't worry about it, we got this. And he's like, and I'm like, I'm not being a dick. I just, if I go into it thinking, well, what if I don't have it? Then that seeps in. I remember having a conversation with a family member about this place, and they couldn't believe that I opened this place, and businesses, a lot of businesses fail in a year. And my thought was, well, why would I even have opened a business that I thought that my family, it doesn't even make sense.
Right.
I was telling somebody else recently a story about like when I had cancer when I was 25, and the doctors told me after they did the radiation and all that bullshit, and they were like, you know, because of your positive attitude, and that's why you did so well, and that's why you recovered. And I'm like, it never crossed my mind that I would die.
Right.
I want to. So that was just my stupidity. But like, if you're not even if you focus on the things that you want, and you focus the feeling that you want, and that's what they mean. So I think that that's really, really important. And there was a part 2 to that I've completely forgotten.
Which might be fine because where are we? Yeah, we're a little over.
All right. So let me just conclude. So I think, like I said, that's really important. Oh, and the other piece that I wanted to add to that is, Steffi always says, there's no whole wide world. There's a 6 inches between your ears, and that's where everything is. But really, really, really sit on this. I'm not going to get into it because evidently I'm on a timer. There's no time. There's no time. It's just a Costco. Okay.
Continue. We're here all day.
I got
Tip
closed.
your waiter.
I got closed on the front
Tip
door.
your waiter.
We got freedom. But it really, really, truly does come from here. Oh, I know where I was going with this. So this idea that, how do I want to feel, right? But if you have decided, I'm going to feel the freedom of being wealthy, but you feel there's always underlying feelings of anxiety and fear and being unsafe, then it's time to go back and see where those things came from. Because I can't say out of one side of my mouth, oh yeah, man, I'm gonna hit it big, or I'm gonna be successful, or I'm gonna hit the lottery, whatever it is to have that, so I could not feel lack. But there's somewhere deep inside, we'll go back to the chakra system, there's somewhere in your root or somewhere in your sacral that you have learned somewhere along the lines that you don't even realize that you have to work hard for money, or that you'll never have that freedom, or whatever it is. It's always, because I don't want to start throwing these words around, but it's always going to be your vibration that belies the thoughts that you have, right? So it's far more than a vision board and a thought of what I want, and I'm going to have these moments of feeling what I want. It's if you're doing those things that you're supposed to be doing, because it's true, it's the law of the universe, right? So if you're doing those things and you're not getting the life that you want, then it's really time to dig deep. And hopefully the timing is now. See how I pulled that all together?
You go, girl.
No, man.
I love you. I want to hug you because, listen, I'm so honored to have done this work with you. I do it in your shadow. I provide shadow for you, safe space, and I'm just so grateful for how we've managed to manifest this healing in our lives.
Yeah, let's celebrate with some cupcakes. What do you think? No,
we've got coconut curried lentils and homemade June kombucha with honey and green tea.
I didn't tell you, but thank you for bringing me kombucha. I don't think I ever said I love it, and I don't buy it because Rob makes fun of me.
Okay.
So thank you for bringing it.
You're more than welcome. I don't think all the other people needed to hear that, but if you were here, I'd bring you kombucha too. So we love you. We're so grateful that you tune in. Thank you for just giving us your attention and allowing us to do this. We enjoy it. We're going to do it no matter what. And we hope that if any of this is useful, you take it. And if it wasn't, then I hope you just laughed watching us laugh. So have a great day.
Ubuntu.
Bye.